For those who don't know, epilepsy is considered a brain condition where you have 2 or more seizures with no really known cause. There's a motto I found that's interesting that says, anyone with a brain can have a seizure. I'm gonna say that again. Anyone with a brain, any race, any age, any time, any health condition can have a seizure. But if you do have a seizure, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're epileptic. I had my first seizure a couple weeks ago, but as of now, it is not considered epilepsy. In this video, I'm going to share my personal experience, including the warning signs, what a seizure may look like so you can identify one, what to do if you are witnessing a seizure, and what to know about seizures. First of all, let me just say, everyone seems so surprised when I say this, myself included, but my seizure began as a cold. Yes, the common cold. As time passed, I got more and more symptoms, but some of the symptoms I did not associate with the cold, so I did not think they were warning signs at all. Headaches, but it wasn't really pain, it was more discomfort. It was a feeling of pressure behind my eyes. So knowing that colds sometimes infect the sinuses, I figured it was sinusitis. No big deal. I just figured it would go away in a few days. I took a few low-dose aspirin and functioned as normal. The other symptoms that I developed included, I think the first symptom, my vision started to deteriorate very, very slightly. I noticed things at a distance were slightly blurry. And I also began seeing floaters at the corner of my eye every now and then. For those who don't know, floaters are usually like zigzags or little rainbow or black spots in your vision that aren't really there. So I guess I'm finally at an age where my vision is going. That's what I thought it was. I just thought I was getting older and my vision was deteriorating. Another symptom I had is my left foot bottom, as we Jamaicans call it, or the sole of my left foot had a bit of numbness. If you touched it, you could feel that there was a slight tingle. But also the day before I developed that symptom, I had hit my knee very hard into my bed frame. So I just thought it was a result of that. Timing. Another symptom I developed was tinnitus, which is when you hear sounds in your ear that aren't actually there, such as you hear ringing in your ears, or maybe you hear like a sound of rushing water, your ear will feel full, things like that. But that symptom developed probably a day or two after I had syringed my ear. So I just figure it was, the liquid in my ear. Again, hadn't what I thought was an explanation for it, so didn't consider it a warning sign. Didn't feel cold at all. Fan was on, but I didn't necessarily feel the need for a blanket, but my teeth would just occasionally chatter. That's chills. Chills you tend to get when you probably have a fever. All of these were warning signs that led to the eventual first time seizure that I had. The morning of the seizure. My sinusitis, the pressure behind my head was a little more intense than before. So I put an ice pack on my head. I had my breakfast, had my coffee, and then after that, went back to my room, lie down, watching TV, texting friends. Feeling fine for the most part, feeling functional. And that's when it happened. There are some things that might happen during a seizure that can help you recognize if somebody else is having a seizure. I don't remember. I'm just going based off of what people told me because I was not conscious at all. I was in a room by myself and I apparently made some sort of alarming sound. A shout, a scream, something. And someone heard me and came to check on me. And when they came to check on me, my eyes were rolled back in my head. I was drooling and I was convulsing. My body was just jerking. These are all signs of a seizure. They don't have to happen, but they do happen in some cases. My body was stiffening. I was unresponsive. And I had 4 seizures in sequence. So that is considered a seizure cluster when you have more than one seizure, like back to back. Have a seizure for a few seconds, come back to some level of consciousness and have another seizure. And some people may not be jerking or convulsing or stiffening up. Some people may just have a blank stare. They may just look into space and look very unaware of anything that's going on and not being responsive. Some people lose bowel or bladder control. Some people will bite their lip or bite their tongue. Then some people foam at the mouth. Some people vomit. Yeah, there are a few other signs, but those are common signs to look for. If you are around somebody who's having a seizure, you are who they have. It's scary, but you have to try and stay as calm as you can because they're not conscious. They are not in control of their body. They only have you, hopefully. So if you're around somebody who's having a seizure, the main things you should do, make sure that there's something soft behind their head. They might collapse or they might fall if they're standing. Luckily for me, I was already lying down when it happened. Put a pillow, put your leg, put something soft behind the head of the person in case they're convulsing. They're not going to be banging their head against the ground or some hard surface, possibly causing injury. Another thing you should do is move any sharp objects away from them that they could knock over or that they can injure themselves with during the seizure. Turn them on their side. Don't have them lying flat on their back because then they can choke on fluids as vomit or saliva. If they have on a tight tie or a button collar or anything that may be restricting their airway around their neck, loosen it. Give them as much room to breathe as possible. Try to open their mouth so they can get as much air as possible. Give them a clear airway. Make sure there's nothing at all in their mouth. Another thing you should do is time the seizure. If you do have to go to the hospital, this will be very important information for the doctor or medical professional. Seizures should really last a few seconds to maybe a couple minutes. People who are epileptic are usually on medication to help manage their seizures, and epileptic people should wear a medical bracelet because you never know where and when it can happen, and this can really help people who don't know about your condition seek better care for you. If someone is epileptic and having a seizure, they may not need to go to the hospital unless maybe they have injured themselves. The cases where you should seek medical attention if you have a seizure or are around somebody who's had a seizure, if it's a first-time seizure, like mine was. If it was a seizure cluster where you're having back-to-back seizures, or if you have a seizure that lasts more than 5 minutes. This is where timing becomes important. So those 3 instances, you should definitely seek medical care for a seizure, epileptic or not. Things that you should not do when you are around somebody who is having a seizure. They are not possessed. They're not having a spiritual warfare. Do not restrain them. Do not try to hold them down. Do not feed them. Do not give them anything to drink. Do not put your fingers in their mouth. They will bite off your finger. I bit on my lip so hard it took over 2 weeks for me to heal. It's still not fully healed. So you don't want to do that. Friend Rochelle Knight, who is also a doctor and a travel blogger for Adventures from Elle, she wanted me to mention some things that she has seen for patients who have suffered seizures. She's asking me to tell you all not to put stinky shoes up to the people them nose to make them smell it while them have the seizure. Jamaican people, do not rubbing alcohol on the people them head or scalp. Do not rub rum on the people them head or scalp or nose or anything like that. As I said earlier, seizures do not necessarily equal epilepsy. The doctors theorize that my seizure was probably because my body was fighting an infection from the cold/sinusitis. The doctor said to me, everyone is allowed to have one seizure episode in life. Everyone. Which means it could happen to you at any time. It could happen to your loved ones at any time. You don't have to have brain injury or serious head trauma. You don't have to be born with epilepsy or diagnosed with epilepsy. You don't have to have some serious drug or alcohol abuse to have a seizure. It could happen to you, so please be aware of the signs to look out for, what to do if you or a loved one is experiencing a seizure. It's when you probably have 2 or more unexplained seizure episodes. That's typically when it is considered epilepsy. So in my case, thankfully, I have not been diagnosed with epilepsy, but there are over 50 million people in the world who are. It can be scary, but it can be manageable. So let us all be there to support. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there.